Hello and a warm welcome. You're watching a Bloomberg UTV special on the can industry, setting a new green and innovation agenda. Now, 10th to 17th November this year is being observed as Canvironment Week for the world. Metal cans have, of course, come as a boon to today's world. We all use them, and it also has an environmental factor going on because they are completely 100% recyclable. Well, not many people know that when disposed of properly, cans are completely eco-friendly. Well, to discuss how Canvironment Week can lead to a better tomorrow, we have with us Mr. Sanjay Bhatia, Managing Director of Hindustan Tin Works, who's, of course, taking the initiative for Canvironment Week, Professor N.C. Shah, Director, Indian Institute of Packaging, and also Mr. Hemant Somani, General Manager, Marketing at Akzo Nobel India Limited. And well, let's begin by talking about how cans can change the environment for the better. Well, Mr. Bhatia, we could begin with you. Canvironment Week, how did the idea come about? Because we know that this is actually the 200th anniversary of the can, 2010. So was that the inspiration?
Yes, absolutely. Like you said very rightly, that this is the 200th birthday of the can when it really started. And it is still very, very relevant as a packaging material. As you know that the packaging is the most important part of any marketing strategy, and it is heart and soul of any product. This is the first point of contact for any consumer.
Absolutely.
So metal packaging from that point of view is very important.
So what's your aim to achieve in this week, Canvironment Week?
The Canvironment Week, we thought about to bring awareness to the consumer that this is the most environment friendly pack and a recyclable pack. And also in the process, we are doing for upliftment of the life of the rack pickers, who are important cog in the wheel for collection of the packaging waste.
We're going to talk about that in just a bit. Professor Saha, we could get you in at this point. The recyclable factor, not many people are aware of it. You know, consumers need to be educated about this. Just how can cans help us reduce our carbon footprint?
Well, you see, when you talk about the recycling, many of us, we discuss about the 3R concept, which is called the reduce and recycling and reusable concept. Many times we do talk about this recycling aspect mostly on the plastic or other packaging material. But I think this is a very good initiative has been taken by the Hindustan Tin Works. They are going to talk about that how can could be recycled, and really we can save the energy, because the same material, if you keep on doing the recycling maybe 50 times, 100 times without losing the original property or the characteristics of the material, and that's really helps to reduce the carbon footprint, and that's a very good initiative. I personally feel that this is a remarkable initiative as taken by this industry and in the global level, and probably that many more the packaging industry who are dealing with the other packaging material should come forward and take this kind of initiative for a noble cause.
Absolutely. It's a good thought to begin with. Mr. Somani, as someone from within the industry, how do you view this, especially consumer interest? Are they aware, consumer awareness? What level would you peg it at?
Overall, sensibility towards environment is still an area for which is not influencing consumer choices very strongly. It's a rising area of awareness. If there is a nominal trade-off between pricing and being sensible to the environment, consumers will go for the environmentally friendly choice. However, if there is a substantial difference, and substantial can be as high, as low as 5 to 10%, consumers are not yet willing to pay that premium. They believe the sensitivity is not up to that level, and their sense of responsibility towards their environment and towards their world is still not at that high level.
How can we change that?
There are two factors, I think, which will largely govern it. One of the biggest factors, which has been a global phenomena, is legislation. Once government becomes responsible and government gets sensitized towards it, gets legislation out here, we've seen this happening, for example, in the automobile industry. I mean, consumers would not have paid a premium for a Euro 4 car. It's when government legislated. Today we have a safer and a cleaner Delhi. We know that, and all of us who are having lived here, we know that. But it came only after legislation. And so government has a strong role to play. The other role to play is by the manufacturers, by the manufacturer of the packaging material and of the core good that is being sold. You've got to be responsible towards the environment and create a better world for tomorrow.
Well, that brings us directly to the question for Mr. Bhatia. As a manufacturer, how do you think you can increase awareness? And also you mentioned rack pickers before this. They play a key role in actually physically taking that metal can which has been disposed of and bringing it back for it to be recycled. how can we encourage them also? Because in India, in a country like India, that is crucial.
Yeah, you see, first of all, I must also tell you that this Can Environment Week, which was initiated by our company, has become a global initiative, because there are 8 countries from 5 continents which are participating in this. So this has become a global initiative, and which has got a good response from other countries as well. They are part and parcel of they are also doing the similar activities in the respective countries to celebrate this Can Environment Week. So that is one. Second is coming to the rack, because I think the kind of life what they live.
Yeah.
And that is what as in this particular week, we are trying to do something for the upliftment of the children of the rack pickers and the rack pickers, in terms of organizing health camps in some of the areas through an NGO, and also doing the insurance, medical insurance for about 200 rack pickers, because since this is a 200th year of the Can. So we thought 200 rack pickers we picked up, which was helped to us, given the names given through an NGO, who are being given the medical insurance for 1 year, so that, and they can always go to that hospital for any treatment or something like that.
Giving back to society as well. Well, hold that thought. We're taking a quick break, but we'll be back with our special on the can industry, setting a new green and innovation agenda. Back after a short break. Stay with us.
Let me put it this way, that can industry in India is now growing and at virtually at par with the global industry. But what the difference is the scale.
Welcome back. You're watching the can industry setting a new green and innovation agenda. It's our special today. Now, let's talk about leveraging innovations to tackle food wastage. It's a key issue at this time in India. And of course, we have our panelists with us. Mr. Bhatia, again, if we could begin with you on this. In a country like India, food wastage, lack of storage facilities has become a major issue. How can the can industry help tackle that?
You see, one is that the can, once produced, I think this becomes a permanent asset for the society. This can be reused and reused and reused, as already mentioned. Additionally, due to the barrier properties and the longer shelf life which it provides to the food, I think this really helps the food wastage to come down, and once it is packed in can, it is safe for 2 years. So then the can industry is very closely, I mean, we have an issue of the cold chain in the country. Now, once the can is packed, you can keep it on ambient temperature for 2 years. You don't need a cold chain to transport a food which is packed in can to from any destination to any destination. So it really helps in that process.
Right, but there are Tetra packs. There are so many other ways of packaging these days, Professor Shah. Do you see the can getting more and more popular in that light, especially since Mr. Somani mentioned how the cost factor plays an important role in all this?
Yeah, well, when you talk about the processed food packaging, though there are a lot of innovation has come and different alternatives. Tetra Pak, as you rightly said, this is an aseptic packaging. This is one of the techniques by which you can enhance the shelf life for the longer shelf life of the processed food products. But maybe on the canned food, this is one of the very traditional or very oldest technology where we get a metal can and keep your product like any of the processed food, and it is an hermetically sealed product.
But are consumers aware of it? Are they aware that canned food keeps the food nutritious for a longer time? You know, the fact that every time, you know, you pick up a can, you check the expiry date, you know, is that level of awareness there?
To some extent, yes. Now in the modern society, if you look at even any of the shopping mall and the urban population, they do understand about the expiry date. There was a time nobody was realizing what is the expiry date.
India is mostly, you know, it has a huge rural population as well.
So date is for all packaging materials. Right. So that has to be mentioned in not only metal can but all packaging material. That's a government regulation.
That's as per the Weights and Measures Act.
As I said, that the metal can provides the longest shelf life, and that is what is the key. And this is where we want to position this packaging material in the consumer mind, that there is a packaging material which may be little cost wise it is higher, but it provides you longer shelf life, and which is environment friendly and which is good for consumption. So that is.
And in some cases, we believe that can is the only option. Like if you worked in the painting industry, we believe. So was can the only option at that point?
For some of our products, cans are the only option because the other materials just will not provide the right kind of properties for packing the product. However, having said that, I think can industry, see, when you evaluate packaging as a marketeer or as a manufacturer, so from an AkzoNobel perspective, we believe yes, packaging is about 10% of our carbon footprint, and we would like to continuously reduce it, and that's our stated intention. However, when you're evaluating packaging options, you've got 2 or 3 dynamics that you play around with. You've got cost of the material, you've got the barrier properties which need to travel from your shop floor to the consumer's hands, and you've got the aesthetics which you want the packaging to be right level of appeal it has to have for the consumers. On some of those fronts, especially on aesthetics, I think packaging industry in India, the tin cans in India, is yet to evolve to some of the standard which exist in the Western world, and it might be because of the market evolution level, but that's something which can facilitate a faster adoption.
Right, but how many of the cans say that goes out from your factory floors actually returns in recyclable form back to the company or for whatever purposes?
I'll refer to the 3R principle which Professor Saha mentioned earlier. So he talked about reduce, reuse and recycle.
Absolutely.
And that's the order of hierarchy. So India being the kind of 2 factors, A, the cultural ethos that we have of recycling everything and not sending things to waste, and second thing being the sheer economic reality of our country. Everything gets reused. In India, everything gets reused.
See, moreover, as Mr. Bhatia was talking, can is the only packaging material which has got a resale value. If you really compare with any other packaging material, you find it has got a resale value. As a result, the rack pickers are more interested to pick up. And as we understand, the studies say that almost 100% the metal can which are not thrown on the dustbin, it comes back to the industry in different form. And that's the question is, if there is a need for a more awareness to the people that when the packaging material goes back, it recycle and it can be reused, and it should not be reused, I should say recycle many times.
How do you think the can industry here and the can industry globally compare to each other? If we could begin with you.
No, let me put it this way, that can industry in India is now growing and virtually at par with the global industry, but what the difference is the scale. The global scales are still not there in India. It's still in the small and medium enterprises. But there are companies like we have set up a plant which is the most modern plant for making beverage cans. So this is the first plant in the country which we have done. So the scales are increased. The equipments what we have are what you will find in any European company manufacturing cans. So we are totally on technology wise, equipment wise, it is there.
We're getting there. We're getting there, and in fact we're getting ourselves to a break though, but we'll be back with our special on the can industry, and it's setting a new green and innovation agenda for the country. More on that coming back.
There is a role that government needs to play, and that is from a legislation and sustainability perspective. The active role that we as manufacturer and the can manufacturer as vendor partners that we need to play is develop new ideas and new technologies which will be friendly to consumers. So both of us need to play a certain role.
Welcome back. You're watching our special on the can industry, setting a new green and innovation agenda. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to take the can industry to the next level to impact the environment in a much better fashion. Well, again, if we could begin with you, Mr. Bhatia, so much has been said about the can industry, but there's also a perception that it's not child friendly. Mothers fear that their children will cut their hands. Is that finally changing now? Are consumers becoming more aware?
Yeah, you see, I think as an industry, we are working towards providing easy open methods for a can so that there's not any damage or you don't have to use a knife or something like that to open a can. There are easy open ends, easy peel. Which
so there are more applications now.
There are more applications now which is there. I think consumer what today looks forward to is the convenience for handling the can and attractive packaging. So how attractive it is, and finally what we are also trying to highlight through this movement is the environment friendliness of the
again, innovations do you think the can industry has evolved in that segment?
There are industry segments where legislation has governed use of a certain level of barrier properties and where cans are used extensively. And out there you can see a clear evolution. We as consumers can see things that come into our homes every day, things that we consume on the road, things on the move. We have seen a clear evolution of packaging in cans, and friendly handling technologies. However, there are other industries. For example, I represent paint industry, and AkzoNobel is world's largest producer of paints. Out there, somehow we've not seen that much of evolution happening, at least in the country.
So do you think the government is not doing enough?
I think there are two aspects. There is a role that government needs to play, and that is from a legislation and sustainability perspective. The active role that we as manufacturer and the can manufacturer as vendor partners that we need to play is develop new ideas and new technologies which will be friendly to consumers. So both of us need to play a certain role.
Absolutely. Professor Shah, what kind of regulations does the industry need to take it to the next level?
Today the government has taken an initiative talking about the recycling, about the plastic packaging material. When you talk about the recycling of plastic packaging material or a glass packaging, I personally feel that the metal can or the metal packaging is one of the material which is 100% recyclable. As my colleague he mentioned about the legislation, probably government needs to have some kind of legislation to talk about which will really enforce and more on innovation and which will be the consumers benefit. But today we find in the can industry or the application of can or metal can is an enormous application. Right. There was a time we used to see only the metal can only for the baby food product, like you find a lot of brand name from the Nestle, the Farex and all. But today the metal can has got a lot of application other than the processed food industry. We get in paint, we get in shoe polish, we got in pesticides, and many more applications the metal can is coming. That shows that there is a big revolution has come. Indeed. And as the packaging industry grows and the awareness of the consumer also increases, the application will go further.
Well, you mentioned the word revolution, so I'll take off from that. Do you think the government, as a manufacturer, do you think the government has given enough incentives to help that revolution become a success?
You see, government has over a period, yes, they have given certain, by reducing excise duties and reducing custom duties on the raw materials, there are incentives which have been made available to the industry. But I think there is something more which needs to be done. I would say that
like what?
All packaging materials are used for various applications. So those packaging materials which are environment friendly, there should be special incentive given to those packaging material to encourage the user industry to use more and more of them. So that ultimately the focus is coming from the packaging material manufacturing or usage to the handling of packaging waste. How the packaging waste would be handled. I think this is one of the key things which is there. And second is that the industry does supply to various exporters. The deemed export benefits are not available to the industry. As a result, industry is sitting on huge sandwet accumulations which has already done. I think there is a need to look at these things. We are talking to the government on this, and let's see how it goes, but industry is looking for that.
Okay, time to wrap up, but last thoughts. What's your outlook? 10 years from now, where do you see the industry?
Well, I would say that there is a trend from loose pack to the packed products, from the loose materials to the packed products. The trend is towards that, keeping in mind the hygiene safety aspect of these products. I think the more and more packed products would be required. And
Mr. Savani, your thoughts 10 years from now?
I can clearly see consumers evolving and having a greater awareness of the sustainability, in their lives and the products that they use. And if cans can establish that equation, which they indeed are, it's more sustainable, but if they can deliver it in a friendly fashion, in an aesthetic manner, at competitive prices, consumers will definitely lap it up.
Definitely. Packed in cans, they do look good.
See, their statistics say almost 20 to 30% of the fresh produce has gas wastage. There's a lot of food wastage is due to the improper or unscientific packaging. I believe that the metal can is one of the packaging material which can really make a revolution for the reducing the wastage of the food product.
Well, yes, we can. Just had to mention that. Thanks so much to all three of you for joining us. It's been great talking to you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.